All right, fellow drone pilots, this is a look at Myoka first person view. This is a free FPV simulator. Second, I gotta turn this audio down. So this is a free FPV simulator on the Steam Marketplace. You can download this today. There are 3 levels, so we're gonna look at them here. Now, as soon as you spawn, you'll be right in front of the controller. So all you gotta do is walk forward and the calibration window will pop up. So if I walk forward, calibration window pops up and I can calibrate my controller. Excuse me. I'm using the Radio Master Zorro. It also works with your Xbox controller, but it's not meant to be flown on this type of controller, so it'd be best to get a proper race controller. These are the freestyle PIDs that I have for now. Do gotta update these because they're a little better than this now. If you want to reset the PIDs and start over, you can reset them to this 111 across the board, basically. All right, so this is Buffalo Road Park. Um, I'm getting on low, maybe like 135 frames per second. My goal is to get 120 frames per second on high graphics. So I still got a little bit of work to do because right now I can probably get maybe about 95-ish on high. And so I'm still working to optimize further. On the second and third level, I do get over 100 on high graphics, but those levels are a little smaller. And so my objective is to continue learning how to optimize, and that's why this one has improved. So this is on high. So, no wait, I'm sorry. This is on cinematic. All right, so this is with the graphics maxed out, and so you can see that it looks pretty freaking good, and it still flies pretty good. 64 frames per second is this is flyable all day, every day, right? But I know that some, are a little extra picky when it comes to the FPS. So if you lower the graphics, you can get more, but I personally prefer the full graphics and then sacrificing some FPS so long as it doesn't sacrifice the flight, and this doesn't. All right, this feels pretty freaking good. All right, so now here are a few things that I'm going to be changing for the next demo here. Let me see here. I don't know how this chat works either. So if you're in the blogging on and and I can't chat with you, it's because I legit don't even know where the chat box is. See if that's better there. Keeps cutting my head off at the top. I'm trying to wait for some people to tune in, but I've been sitting here talking by myself for a lot of these streams, so I'm gonna just try something a little different this time. I see one watching now, but I do believe that it's my screen watching myself. Open panel. So how do I do this here? See, I don't know how to do any of this. Let's sit here and wait for a little bit. See if I get 1 or 2 people to log on. No, it's an odd time, noon. On what today is Wednesday. Maybe I'm gonna have to start announcing these lives. Setting a date. Maybe a few people show up. And just kind of like, I'm like, oh, I made some good progress. Let me hop on live and yeah, I don't know how to get this going, but I'm gonna log back on later. I'm gonna try and come up with a better plan for these lives because there's a lot of progress that has been made, and I would like to share with you. So, mm, let's see. I'm just gonna freestyle. How about that? And if somebody logs on and wants me to discuss the game, I can do that then. Alright, for now I'm just gonna freestyle. So this is 60 frames per second on cinematic. I'm telling you, man, if you just update your computer, it'll be pretty freaking amazing. You see some lines cutting through there? That's the VSync. I turned it off on my graphics card. If I just turn it back on, those lines will go away. Alright, so if you have it on yours, you can adjust the VSync on your graphics card, and they should go away. Oh no, I'm flying so bad. Alright, so my objective is to just continually build this space out so it looks more realistic. And so, the challenge is keeping the frame rate high as you make it more realistic. And so, that's my job, to learn how to do that. But this is flyable. This is matching the competition right now. Liftoff and Tripped and FPV Logic and all those guys. All right, when I load up theirs, I get a little over 100 frames per second, and it's the same thing with here if I just drop the graphics a little bit. So this looks amazing, but that's just if I want to get in here and be cruising and enjoy the views, right? But if I want to freestyle, what I do is I drop the settings to low, and then I'll put the shadows on medium, and I'll put the effects on medium. Because if I don't turn the effects on medium, the baseball stadium will lose the markings and stuff. And that's because that's a material, right, that gives it the effect of the baseball stadium. And when I drop the graphics to completely low, it turns that off. So, gotta make a few little sacrifices, but you see I'm getting over 100 FPS here. And this is while live streaming. So, I get a little more than that. Maybe add 15 FPS to whatever you see here. And that's about what I'll get when I'm not live streaming. But this is meant for freestyle because now you can actually make the moves with the precision because the FPS kind of allows it to, right? More or less about what I would fly in real life because in real life, I'm not some perfect freestyle pilot either, right? So the challenges that I have in here are about equivalent to the challenges I have in real life. All right. Now this flight controller is pretty good. I'm still working on making it just a little smoother. If I was having to rate it, I'd give it like an 8.5. Okay, so I'm at about 85%. And so I gotta find that final 15%, and it's really in the yaw. So that's what all flying comes down to is that yaw, right? Between the throttle and yaw, if you got that feeling good, pitch and roll is just a matter of degrees per second, how fast or slow you want it to. And then of course, you'll make sure the PIDs are lined up so it's reacting like how you're moving the gimbals. But really all the magic happens between yaw and throttle. Right? That's what's going to give you that punch out ability. Right? That's what's going to make, you know, if you're freestyling, you want to be able to go from 0 to 100 to be on top of this tree immediately. Right? And so it's throttle and yaw that will give you that either smoothness or heaviness. It either gets there quickly or it gets there slowly. And so really that's just the final piece of this flight code puzzle is just getting the yaw to be just a little smoother. Right now it's real grippy, but grippy is like close. Rails, like when you're flying on rails, that means you're close. Like you're close to perfection, but rails isn't perfection. Rails is control. You don't want control. You want complete freedom. And so the ultimate flight feel would be silk. Silk is what you want. Not rails. Rails is almost there. So rails will be like level 9. If level 10 is perfection, rails means you made it to level 9. That means with one more step, you've arrived at a perfect flight feel, perfect throttle, perfect flight controller. Rails means you're really, 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 really close. And so right now, this is on rails. Like I feel when I want to turn that there's that control that's like, nope, because I'm really tight and you're going to stay on this line. And that's good. That's a very good start, but that's not the end goal. That's not the end goal. The end goal is that it is so in tune, it is so on a perfect line that all of that feeling of control completely goes away, and instead it feels like silk. There's no feeling there at all. It's just somehow magically retaining perfect lines, following perfect lines, tracking perfectly. Silk is the final form, and right now I'm just short of that. So, but even still, this is more than flyable, and it feels amazing because gravity, man. Look at this. It's so fun to throw these freaking quadcopters in Myoka. Why? Because at no point during your free fall does the speedometer stop accelerating. So, off the throttle, just free falling, and it speeds up before it hits the ground. Whereas the other flight simulators will stop short at like 60 miles per hour, and then the rest of the way down, they're just free falling at that constant 60 mile per hour. That is what creates float, right? That's the sensation of float. When everybody complains, oh, it's so floaty, it feels so floaty, it's because the acceleration halts, and in Myoka, it never halts. All right, so the next levels that I'm putting in here is skyscrapers, so you can really enjoy the fact that the quadcopter never slows down. All right, and it's weird that everybody said that they wanted this, and I accomplished this, and nobody's giving me credit. It's insane, but it kind of shows me what I'm up against. A bunch of haters, and that's okay because eventually, when you turn the haters to fans, you know you've really done what you've meant to do. So. I'm just going to keep working on this, keep improving the graphics, keep making the flight controller smoother because gravity is already there. I just need to catch up with the yaw, really. And the throttle is good because it depends on how you pit tune. If you add more P term to the roll and less P term to the pitch, that alters the way the throttle feels. And so that's all on personal taste. You're going to have to learn to make those minor adjustments to fine tune it to what you want. But the default freestyle pitch that I put at the beginning of the level will get you to where I'm at right here, which is pretty freaking good. And then you go fine tune it from here. Alright, so this is Buffalo Road Park. This is my favorite level still after all this time because I just keep developing it further to make it look better. Like these trees, freaking amazing. I would love to fly over trees like this in real life, and I do when I go to Dorothea Dix Park here in Raleigh. It's just so far from where I live. It's like a nice little 25-minute trip each way, and it's like, I don't always want to drive that far to fly my quadcopters. All right, so we'll move on to the next level, which is the power plant. Hit 2 on the keyboard. And all these levels you can walk, and if you see a car, you can also get into the car. You just walk up to it and you hit E on the keyboard. All right, so the reason you can walk is because you will have better flights if you can actually walk the premises in real life. That's how it works in real life. And so, if you want to have better flights, you got to walk the premises. So I just give you that ability here. That's all. So now when you know, oh, I know this is more or less, about 20 feet above me. This is about, I don't know, a little over 100 feet. Right? I got enough space for my quadcopter to move through here and there and everywhere else. And ultimately, that makes these flights better. Because in real life, if you spot, let's say I spotted this power plant, right? And let's say there was a giant fence, and that fence extended way over here, right? And I pulled up on the fence, and I don't want to get out of the car because I don't want to be trespassing. I don't know if they got guard dogs, if anybody's there. It looks abandoned, but I don't know what's going on back there. So I'm going to sit in my car here, and I'm going to fly from here. And I've never been to this space, right? And so what happens is you end up flying very timidly. Even if you spend 2 hours there, you never actually get comfortable enough to get confident enough to really throw your quadcopter around. And it's because you haven't immersed yourself in the space to feel out the proportions of everything. Oh, this thing is real tall. This is small enough that the quadcopter can still fit through there, so I know I can fly here. And when you don't get the chance to walk the space, you end up having a lot of mediocre flights. Yeah, you enjoyed that you got a new space, so of course you're gonna get a thrill out of that. But you get home and it's like I don't really like the video. There's nothing. I didn't do anything really fun here because you weren't confident enough to really push your quadcopter because you didn't get comfortable with the space. And so knowing that, with my experience of having spent however many hours out in the field actually flying, freestyling, going to random spots, I know that, and that's why I've given you the ability to come in here and walk around so that you can also get better flights out of this. All right, so now I know, oh, dang, I didn't even see this earlier. I can walk all the way in through here. All right, this thing kind of glitches. So right now, like the walking is a little off. So to fix it, just hit 0 to go back into drone mode, and then hit tab to come back into walk mode. Oh, I did it again there. I might have. All right, so now he's walking normal. All right, and so like I was saying, now that I'm walking, I can see that, oh man, I can fly through here, and then maybe come up here. Oh, there's some ladders over there. I can try and dive those. Oh man, I didn't realize there's this whole staircase in here. And so the whole point, remember, is that immersion. And so I've given you the ability to walk these entire spaces so that, you know, ultimately when you decide that you want to start flying, you can get a lot better flights in here. All right, so this is a pretty small level. I'll add more to it. Most importantly is I'm no longer uploading levels unless they can hold 100 frames per second. All right, because you really need at least, I mean, I need about 60, 70, but I know a lot of people out there need a little more than that. And so I'm just making sure you got that here. You see the birds flying around and whatnot. So this is, it's fun. If you like flying stuff like this, you'll enjoy this. I personally prefer parks more than anything. I like seeing the trees. I like seeing the beautiful landscape. But a lot of freestyle pilots are really about, these tight gaps and stuff like this. And so if that's more your alley, then perfect. This level will be more for you. All right, now moving on to the next level. 3 on the keyboard. This is the gas station. Same thing. You're always going to spawn in walk mode. And so that's me thinking that there's going to be a lot of players that download this free game that don't know anything about flying. So I'm making sure to build out gameplay in here that retains those players. So they don't get in here and they're immediately here, right? And they don't have a controller for it. Maybe they try with their Xbox controller and they don't really enjoy it. So I'm doing my best to make sure that those guys don't just up and uninstall. Like, oh, I don't know how to fly, so let me get out of here. All right, so right now you can walk and you can get in some of these cars and you can drive them. And I'm going to make sure that the landscape is beautiful enough that if all you want to do is drive and enjoy the views, you can do that. All right, so I'm constantly thinking about stuff like that, and that's how I'm building this game out. All right, so this, I don't have the drop code in here, sorry. So you can't get in these cars. But that's the end of it. Sorry. So I'll fix that for the next update. That's pretty simple. All right, so this is just a gas station, right? We don't typically fly gas stations. I've been to a few smaller rinky-dink gas stations that like nobody visits. I don't know why they're even there, but when I've flown those, and they were pretty cool. I know Velocidrone has a nice little gas station in one of its levels that I've always enjoyed flying. And so, I created the level and I found that it's really fun to fly. And then I also found that it retains really good frames per second. So this is perfect. We got stuff to power loop. We got gaps. We got trees to dive between. And now I'm making the entire space look more realistic by adding this nice little pond over here. And so as you're flying, if you don't immediately go through the trees, I'm hoping eventually you see that turtle over there and you're like, oh man, what is that? And then you fly over and you're like, oh man, that's freaking awesome. And so I got a lot of these things in the game. I'm just gonna be putting them in different spaces, not always in ponds, but they'll just be like random statues and stuff. And so for this one, it's just a static statue, but I'm going to animate it. And so for no reason other than it's, to look cool. So if you're flying around it and you never bump into it, it'll just remain just like that, right? But the moment you start crashing into this guy, he's gonna get, a little irritated. He's like, bro, and he's gonna animate. And he's gonna snap at you for no reason other than, I think it would be cool, right? It doesn't. There's no gameplay around it. It's just, something to add to the enjoyable experience of flying. All right, and so, there's a lot of little things like that that I'm going to be building in here. All right, so this is the most optimized level, meaning that on this level, you'll get the highest FPS. All right, I'm live streaming and I'm still holding 166 frames per second. And so my objective is to get all of the levels optimized this good, and then I'm actually doing what, I've been setting out to do here, which is make amazing spaces to fly with a flight controller that feels as smooth as real life. All right. You see the audio going, got the birds going. I modified the code so that it doesn't always start at the same exact audio spot. So that track is maybe like 10 minutes long, right? And so I don't want you restarting the level and it always starts with the same exact bird chirps. And so I added this little math so that every time you reset, it'll start on a random spot on that audio track to go making it feel a little more realistic, right? I also have to add just better audio in general because I do like that, I can hear the birds chirping and you can tell, oh, I'm outside somewhere. But even still, like the spatial awareness, the spatial audio isn't there. So right now it's just an audio track that plays over the entire level. But realistically, if I was over here, I would hear the birds that are in this area, right? And then if I flew way the hell over here, I would hear different birds that are in this area. And so I'm going to go building that out once again, just because I want it to be more of a realistic experience. I want to feel like I'm at the park here, flying with everything that I would have at the park, which means I'm going to eventually have random characters walking around, waving hello, and even complaining. Like, hey, bro, like, that's dangerous. You shouldn't be flying that around here, like in real life. You'll get a Karen every now and then. Not too often. I've gotten maybe, I think one. I think I've gotten one Karen ever in my life. And the thing is, I was at the most appropriate park to fly drones in the entire city, which is Dorothea Dix Park. It's like freaking, it's a humongous park. Humongous park. And it's like, lady, if I can fly anywhere, this is exactly where I can fly, and I'm not nowhere near you. But you get that in real life, and we're getting more of it. As people are fearful of drones sometimes, and so I'm bringing that experience to Myoka. I'm gonna have Karens in here, and they're gonna be playable characters because I've been studying game design, and those are things that I have to build in to create the proper experience. All right. I'm going for something real big here, even though all the experts say not to, because it's just how I'm built. So I got a lot coming up. Right now, it's just making sure the flight feels amazing, making sure I can retain at least 100 frames per second. And now that I've accomplished both, all I'm doing is re-uploading the levels to ensure that they're at meeting 100 frames per second. And now I'm building out the gameplay. So you can look through some of the video to see that I'm building out RPG gameplay, objectives. You're just gonna have scenarios to use your drone as you do in real life. All right, and so this is the update on Myoka. I'll check real quickly if anybody's on live. I can answer questions if you can help me figure out how to get the chat thing working. Otherwise, I will log off and tune in some other time. Right here, let's see. All right, so I'm gonna leave this on YouTube if you want to catch up. All right, I'm gonna start having to make some announcements as to when I'm gonna be live, so that maybe I can get one or two people on here. But for now, I'll just record, give you the updates, leave it on here because that's the nature of YouTube. You can always go on and rewatch some of the old stuff. All right, this is the update as of January 11th. I'm going to be uploading more levels to Steam. Right now there's 3. I'm going to try and just keep uploading another 3. So the next we'll have 6, then we'll go 9, and we'll just continue adding on like that. All right, thanks for eventually watching this. I'm here if you have questions, comments, leave them below. I'll talk to you next time.